LaShawn McCoy, he had a Speakeasy podcast. He had this to say about Shedeur. This is a couple days ago. And, we've had the Cavs rumors and everything, and we'll get back to those. Greg Schwartz going to join us at 8:20 this morning. Daryl is in for Tone today. But here's Shady McCoy on his podcast, Speakeasy podcast, where he was talking about doing some wild things with Shedeur Sanders and the Cleveland Browns. Hit it.
Because he's in Cleveland, and they don't win, and they don't do much good things. You bring in Deshaun Watson.
The kid hasn't even started a regular season NFL game yet, and already people are calling for him to be cut. Let that sink in for a second. Shedeur Sanders, son of Deion Sanders, 5th-round pick, 7 games as a rookie, and somehow the conversation around him has already reached a fever pitch that most quarterbacks never experience in their entire careers. The debate isn't even about whether he's good, it's about whether he deserves to exist on this roster at all if he doesn't win the starting job outright. That's where we are, and honestly, that tells you everything about how complicated this story really is. Let's go back to the beginning. Not the draft, not Colorado. Way before that. Shedeur Sanders grew up watching his father command every room he walked into. Deion Sanders wasn't just a football player. He was a spectacle, a brand, a movement. And whether Shedeur wanted it or not, that legacy came with him everywhere he went. Every touchdown, every intercom view, every highlight reel clip carried a footnote. Son of Deion, coached by Deion, part of the Deion show. That's a weight most 22-year-olds couldn't carry. Most people would collapse under it. He didn't.
I'm just so sick and tired of the Kevin Stefanski sabotage Shedeur nonsense.
I got a nice clip from somebody else about that later on.
And especially from people who aren't even around the team. They just run their mouths thinking that they know what's going on, and they don't. Like Kevin Stefanski sabotaged Shedeur Sanders so much that he did 7 a.m. sessions with the kid last season to try and help coach him up.
The word sabotage is an operative word.
At Colorado, he threw for over 4,000 yards in back-to-back seasons. He took hits that would have ended lesser players' confidence. He kept getting up, he kept performing, and he did it all while carrying a media circus on his back that followed his family like a second team on the field. So when draft night came, the football world was watching. Scouts had studied him. Analysts had broken down every throw. And then, round by round, his name didn't get called. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then finally, almost as an afterthought, Cleveland. 5th round. The internet exploded. Some people called it justice, proof that bloodlines don't buy you a draft spot. Others called it a conspiracy, a coordinated effort by NFL teams to humble a kid they saw as too confident, too famous, too much. The truth, as usual, was probably somewhere in the middle. There were real questions about his ability to fit into an NFL system as a backup, to blend into a locker room culture without the spotlight following him everywhere. Those questions were fair, but the volume at which people asked them was something else entirely. When the Browns brought him in, they weren't exactly walking into a stable situation. Deshaun Watson was still on the roster, still carrying a contract that handcuffed the entire franchise, still trying to convince everyone, including himself, that he was the same quarterback he was in Houston years ago.
I think we can live in a world where if he doesn't start week 1, he can still be a backup on this football team. And I don't understand, from Lima to Jason to a lot of people online, they just think I'm nuts. They think I'm nuts. That it's either he starts, or you have to trade him or cut him. That there's no other direction, like he can be a backup and get ready. And I'm going, what world am I living in? And I do have a very strong thing to say, but about my co-host over the
reports started leaking that he'd actually regressed, not in games, in practice, in shorts and a t-shirt. The guy who used to be one of the most electric players in the league looked like someone still trying to remember the playbook. That's the environment Shedeur walked into. And here's what nobody's really giving him credit for. He didn't complain. He didn't go on social media and start fires. He showed up. He put in the work. There were reports of early morning sessions, 7 in the morning, coaches investing time in him, breaking down film with him, trying to build something. You don't do that with a guy you're planning to cut after camp. You do that with a guy you actually believe in. The new head coach, Todd Monken, is a first-year head coach at this level. Shedeur is a rookie with just 7 starts. Watson is the veteran. In almost every other situation in the history of this league, you give the veteran the first shot.
It's not exciting, it's not what fans want, but it's how football works. Here's the thing, though. The Browns didn't rebuild their offensive line, didn't bring in better wide receivers, didn't make every single organizational move they made just to hand the keys to a quarterback who can barely walk to the line of scrimmage without question marks following him. They're building something. Whether that something has Shedeur's name on it or not, time is going to tell.
In year 2, he's getting first-team reps. He's getting close to an equal number of first-team reps as Deshaun Watson. The situations are nearly identical that they're being put in when it comes to the team, 11-on-11 work and things like that. So my whole point is that Shedeur Sanders, if he doesn't win the starting job, it's not going to be because of any organizational bias or anyone in the organization trying to hold him back or punch down on him or anything.
Now let's talk about the fan base, because this is where things get genuinely complicated. Shedeur Sanders has one of the most passionate fan bases of any quarterback who's never started an NFL game. That's not an insult, that's just reality. And those fans are loyal in a way that goes beyond football. For a lot of them, this isn't just about wins and losses. It's about representation. It's about a young black quarterback getting a real shot. It's about proving that the system didn't push him down on purpose. That passion is real, but it's also become a pressure cooker for everyone around him. Analysts who offer any criticism, even constructive criticism, get buried in notifications. Reporters who say he might not win the starting job get called haters. Radio hosts who suggest he could benefit from sitting and learning get accused of sabotage, of bias, of carrying water for people who don't want him to succeed. And that word, sabotage, that's the one that keeps coming up. The idea that the organization, the coaching staff, the front office, all of it was somehow rigged against him from the start. Here's the reality check. Kevin Stefanski, the previous head coach, was having 7 in the morning workouts with this kid. He was investing personal time into developing him. That's not sabotage, that's coaching. You can disagree with decisions made during the season. You can argue that he was thrown into situations too early or too late. But deliberate sabotage from a coaching staff whose entire job performance depends on winning? That argument doesn't hold up.
I'll bring it up again. You started late last year. You got thrust into a situation you shouldn't have been in. I could sit Shedeur Sanders down if I was Todd Monken, and I could say, hey, there's been a lot of stuff thrown at you. Stand on the sidelines, catch your breath in game. We're going to need you. Hit the books. Make sure you're ready week by week. Prepare for these opponents as you've been preparing, but we're going to do things differently, obviously, because that's why I got brought in as the new head coach. And then eventually your number's going to be called, and you got to be ready for it. Instead of, no, we got to get rid of him. Why? Because I don't like reading.
What does hold up is this. Shedeur Sanders in those 7 games last year was not a disaster. He wasn't. He flashed real ability. He showed poise under pressure. He made throws that made scouts lean forward in their chairs. He also showed the things you'd expect from a rookie who got thrown in too fast without enough support around him. That's normal. That's how quarterbacks develop. The Browns know this. That's why they rebuilt. That's why the offensive line is better. That's why the receiver room looks different. They gave him better tools because they wanted to see what he could actually do with real support around him. And now, after all of that investment, some people are saying if he doesn't win the job outright, just move on. For what? For Dylan Gabriel? For the same cycle of despair that Cleveland fans have been living for 26 years? Here's what the smartest football minds in this conversation keep saying, and it's worth listening to. There is a version of this that works, a version where Shedeur doesn't start week 1, where Watson gets the first crack, because that's just how these situations play out, and where Shedeur spends those weeks doing exactly what he should be doing, watching, learning, getting mentally ready, not rushing, not being forced into mistakes before the system clicks. Some of the best quarterback stories in recent memory started with a guy sitting and waiting, learning the game from the sideline before the game trusted him with the keys. And when his number gets called, because it will get called, whether Watson struggles in week 2 or week 6 or week 10, Shedeur Sanders needs to be ready. Not frustrated, not bitter, ready. That's the version of this story that ends well. If you've stuck with this story this long, you already know you care about where this goes. Hit subscribe, because this is just the beginning of what might be one of the most fascinating quarterback journeys this league has seen in years. You don't want to miss what comes next.
The most honest thing anyone can say about Shedeur Sanders right now is that we don't know. We genuinely don't know what he becomes, and that's not pessimism. That's what makes this so compelling. He could be the answer Cleveland has been waiting for. He could be the bridge to something bigger. He could flame out and become a footnote. Football doesn't guarantee anything to anyone. But what we do know is that cutting him or trading him because the fan conversation gets uncomfortable, that's not football, that's fear. And teams that make decisions out of fear don't build anything worth watching. The Browns have a kid who shows up early, who takes coaching, who has athletic tools, who has been through more public pressure by age 22 than most veterans face in a full career. That's not a liability, that's character. And in a city that has watched 26 years of quarterbacks come and go, of hopes rise and fall faster than a Cleveland November sky turns gray, maybe what this team needs more than anything isn't just a starter. Maybe it needs someone who knows how to get back up. Shedeur Sanders has been getting back up his whole life. That part, nobody can fake. Claude Nano,